Texas. My parents moved to Pasadena in 1936. There was no job, depression.
We came to Pasadena in 1942. My father was asked to come here to have a job, which was not, it didn't exist when we got here. But, you know, to live the way we lived here in Pasadena in a tin shed with all of us, we made it in 1942. You know, but my dad got a job as a gardener, and my mom as a housekeeper. I met him. His brother used to always tell me, you know, you got to meet my brother. You got to meet my brother. He told me that for years and years. And actually, I knew the family, but I never knew him. And we actually lived right in the same neighborhood. They lived on Vernon, we lived on Delmar Street. And when he came by one day and he had his uniform and his bag and stuff, and I met him. And then his brother said, you know, this is who I want you to meet. And so then he used to come by the house with with his brother and my brother, and they worked on a rubbish truck. And then they would talk to my dad. And of course, being a young girl like I was, looking at young men and stuff like that, I saw him and I was attracted to him. So that's how we really got. Then my mother was the instigator. She had us to go to, I forgot the name, the Right Spot, I think it was called, and to get some hamburgers and stuff for her and stuff. That's how we met. And that was way back in 1955. In 1956. And why did we get married? Because I was going to have a child, and so we got married, and thank God for that marriage too. But we got married in 1956 in my sister's home, and it was a blessing. Then we lived with my parents in a back house. Then we lived there for a while, and then we moved from there and moved up on, what's that called? Iowa. We lived in our own little mansion, and there I had just Dudley, and my having Dudley was a great joys, and we moved back on Vernon, where they lived in their home when he moved here. So we lived there for a while, and then after moving there, his beautiful father said to me, as they, you know, I'm old now, but as old people say, he said, "Gal, do you want a home?" And I said, "Of course I want a home." And he said, "Well, come go with me." And he showed me this house up in Altadena. The weeds was up as high as the house, and things were needed to be done and stuff. And he said, "Do you want this house, gal?" And I said, "Of course I do." And he said, "Well, I'll put a down payment on it for you." That's how our life really began up there in Altadena. And then we moved down here in 1977, right here on Los Robles. And we call this coming back home because we've lived down here on this end of town all our lives. Coming down here and looking and seeing how things had changed to when we came here, because we really never went into, I know, you know, we didn't get into any prejudice stuff in our lives, except one when I was in the 7th grade, and someone was in the 6th grade, and going to school, you know, she would call me that N-word every day. And every day she would call me that, and then one day I just had a little fight with her. And anyway, the school, you know, they took upon themselves, and I was young then, but I always remember this because this is something that sticks with me, how they called the police, they did all this stuff, but she was white, and she was bigger than me, but they said, "Well, you're in the 7th grade, you know, and you shouldn't have been doing whatever," and they called the police, and that's when you can find on record today my fingerprints. I never have forgotten that, because I said, such a simple act. That was the only time that I had ever noticed the prejudice part of Pasadena. You know, I've never encountered it in any kind of way. My parents never encountered it either. I mean, they encountered it when they were young, but when we got here in Pasadena, no. We never saw any of that. We got there in 1967. And it's 2015, so some 40 years. The same pastor, yes. Our pastor was well, he wasn't the founder, but he became the founder of the church. And he was the only pastor I've ever really been up under. And he decided, because we had a little church house right here on Orange Grove, and from there he decided that he had a vision that he wanted to build a church. And he built a church in 1972. I can remember that because that's when my mother passed, and we went into a church there, and so we've been with him all this time, and he's been the same pastor. So, being that I was Catholic, I was brought up Catholic, I went to several churches with Dudley, and so we ended up at Lincoln Avenue. That's where I first joined church, a Baptist church. And when Dudley and all of them, except for Craig and Wesley, they were too young, but they left me and went to New Revelation. They joined one Sunday, and all I know is I could remember, my children left me. And I was so sad, because working with the youth department at Lincoln Church, it wasn't an easy thing just to walk away from all those young people. But yet I wanted to be with mine. And so I went to Pastor Thomas and I asked him, and he said, you got to do what your heart says, but I don't want you to leave. And so then I talked to a lady there, and she told me, you got to be with your children. So I came back to church, and then I joined New Revelation with the rest of them. So we all ended up in one place, and to me, New Revelation is a home that I will never ever forget, because it was a new beginning. The pastor, and as far as I'm concerned, the pastor, even though the pastor has been through so many different things, we're all human, we all make mistakes, we all do different things, but he's still a loving and a kind man. He's always treated us as if we were his family. And when I think of him, I think of all the joys, all the things he gave us, but mostly that he was interested in his youth, and he was interested in the elderly in the church. And so to me, if we had that today in churches everywhere, I think we'd do much better. We'd have to put our focal point where it should be, with our elderly and with our young people. But we have to learn how to, nowadays, to listen and see what they really want. But then they have to understand us too, because this is really God's house. It's not their house. So. Okay, I have 4 children, but in reality, we raised 12 children, which were my nieces and my nephews. And if I could add all into that, we've raised many of children in our lives, but as in our home, we raised many of them too, but in our home, my oldest child is Dudley, and he's getting to be 60 years old. And to me, to know that when you raise children back then, you really were blessed, because we didn't run into none of this, what's going on today. So Dudley and Jennifer and Wesley and Craig, if I have to name, Micheline and Rhoda and Renee, Janine, Stephan, Shelley, Ursula, who did I miss? Jasper, all of them. It was just like in our home. We had a home up there in Altadena, 338 Altadena, and we had just only 3 bedrooms up there. But to be in that home, we even, as they lived there, we still had other people that needed a home. So it was something that I see now that God was showing us this was our path, that we were always going to have somebody in the home. And so by having all of them and having them to be good children, not causing us no headaches, never had to go to jail for them, never had to do anything like that for them, And to back up on it, Dudley was always like our, how would you call it, like our leader. He led us to church, he led us to whatever. Dudley had a focal point about what he wanted to do in life. Those children, it's a gift from God, and I know that's the only thing, because God allowed me to meet their friends too. And some of their friends stayed around, and some of their friends needed a home. Even though they're my nieces and my nephews, I always considered them my children. I never thought of them as any other way, because we enjoyed life. We had a big patio table that we all ate at, all of us, and we would eat whatever it was in the house. We didn't have McDonald's to run to. We didn't have Burger King and Taco Bar. But my children were just a gift, and that was my gift. And then if you ask me about my children, we had Young Life here. And Young Life was really a big gift. I saw Frank and Judy and all of them just take our children and just give them some lessons and do this and that, And then I saw my children all grow up, and then my children have children. So I have 9 grandchildren, and I have 5 great-grandchildren, and 1 on the way, which would be 6. And my life is centered around just the young people and trying to help somebody. So my children were a gift to me to show me that, Mom, you can let people in, because it's not like today. Children then, they listened, they were obedient, they didn't have these attitudes, they weren't so abrupt. They wanted to help you, because God says when you raise up your children and you get old, those are your days where you can learn. They'll learn how to take care of you. And so children today, they don't see that. They want to come home and say, can I live here for nothing? Can I eat here for nothing? Can you pay this bill for me? Can you pay that bill? So I'm grateful to have all 12 of those children. I've never had to do those things for them. So God gave me something to teach them, to teach their children and their children.
Job, depression.
From where?
From Texas.
We came to Pasadena in 1942. My father was asked to come here to have a job, which was it didn't exist when we got here. But, to live the way we lived here in Pasadena in a tin shed with all of us, we made it in 1942. But my dad got a job as a gardener, and my mom as a housekeeper.
So when did you two meet?
Well, if I was to give any advice to the young couples, you're going to go through some hard times, you're going to go through some good times. But it's for us to disagree to agree, and then we need to sit down and talk to each other. We need to know, because sometimes one sin or one thing that is done is no different. But we are so quick to judge nowadays without thinking, wow, when I married him, he was all that, or when I married her, she was all that. So you have to keep looking back and remember what you married that person for. Not because the world has changed, not because things have changed, because you're going to have those ups and downs, and they are never going to quit. And when you do have them, always remember, as I always tell my husband, never go to bed angry. So when you get up, you can be friends again. So I think that's what our young people are looking for, riches. Our young people are looking for somebody that's going to be handsome all their life. But, you look at us, we're 70 something. We don't have all them muscles. We can't run. We can't do all that. But we still happy. We still can feed as many people as we want to feed. So we feel as though that being married, that we have become one now. The older you get, you have to learn, because you're going to go through some challenging. You know, you may not like this about somebody that you married, or you may not like this. But you have to learn to, what did I get married for in the first place? Even if it wasn't for love. Because love comes after you get in there. But you have to learn there is a duty that a wife and a husband has. And that's to become as one, to be able to share everything, to be able to talk about everything. You know, because people don't talk to each other nowadays. They don't want each other to know what's in the pocket, what I'm doing, where I'm going, you know, who I'm with. So that's what the big mistake is, because, you know, people always laugh at us because, oh, I know you guys were walking together. Oh, I know you guys went here together. I know you guys went to the store together. They laugh. But do you know what? That's what makes a marriage, is the togetherness. Never separate like that all the time. You can go your own way, but just be there for each other.
So much technology now. See, when we were born, we only had like one three-way telephone in the house. That's all you had. One TV, maybe one TV. You didn't have all this technology, you know. We walked to school. Kids now can't walk around the corner. You know, we walked to school, home, in the rain, in the snow, anything. Whatever the weather's, you know, because our parents were out trying to make $1, trying to feed us. Both our parents were working all the time. So now it's a little different with the technology. It's what they got to do. Go do their homework, and that's it. Get up and go to school the next day, you know. It's high tech now. It's high tech is taking, I think, some of the family values away. That talk about country home, bringing up and stuff like that. We just have to take it one day at a time now. We just praise the Lord, and you know, wake up today, praise the Lord. You know, go down to sleep the next day. We still got all our faculties. We don't have to ask anybody to take us to the bathroom, go get us a glass of water. We just keep praising the Lord and go day by day.
To be with a quiet man. No, he's very quiet. He's not talkative. But to hear him today, it does my heart good. Because a lot of things are suppressed, but when you ask things that are very important, because I'm always telling him technology has ruined our children. Technology has ruined our brains. We used to could have phone numbers in our head. We could have addresses in our head. We could have menus in our head. But technology has even taken the Bible out of source. You know, not that I'm against technology, but I think technology needs to be used where it needs to be used. A home, when you're having dinner, technology is there. You don't talk at the table. Then you have 20 TVs in the home. Nobody's together. You know, so when I look at that and I see this young man here talking, it makes me feel good, because I know he's sports-minded, very sports-minded, you know, and which all of my children are sports-minded, you know, and I would always go to some of the things that they would have. But watching him today and you asking questions and seeing that he was very open and honest about it, it touched my heart. I just wanted you to know that he knows what's going on in this world, because we wouldn't have so many of these, I'm even saying this ISIS stuff, all this stuff going on. I don't think we would have all that. Technology is showing them on there where they're scaring people. Now what kind of stuff is that? Do you know if somebody would come to my house and do something like that, I would probably have a heart attack. So technology has just, they're taking it out of what do you call it? Out of context. They're just doing all kind of things with technology. So to me, today, if we don't stop some of this technology stuff and teach our children like we used to teach them, you know, and punish our children like we used to, even though there is this thing where they can call the police. But forget the police. I'm talking about because the police going to beat them up if you don't try and help your own children. Tell your children, like I tell my grandchildren, I tell them every day, there are things that we were taught, and they were just the please, thank you, may I help you, can I help you? Those words, where are they today? Yeah, no. You know, those words to me, I wonder, what are parents teaching their children? Why are they letting their kids go wherever they want to go? Why are they letting them dress any way they want to? Pants hanging down, you know, girls' dresses up, you know. I know we wore short things, but not like that, because our parents were not going to let us do this. But I don't understand this world today. So, and maybe it's because I'm not supposed to understand it, because it's just not my gift to know. But this technology junk, as far as I'm concerned, for our young people, not only our black young people, I'm talking about all people, that it has spoiled the home. And if we go back to having one TV where the family could talk, where we could read, where we could sit down together, we would know our children and we would know what's happening out there in the world.